music do I hear? Keep time. How sour, sweet music is when time is broke and no proportion kept. So is it in the music of men's lives. And here have I the daintiness of ear to check time broke in a disordered string. But for the concord of my state, and time had not an ear to hear my true time broke. I wasted time, and now doth time waste me? For now hath time made me his numbering clock. My thoughts are minutes, and with sighs they jar their watches unto mine eyes. The outward watch whereto my finger, like a dial's point, is pointing still and cleansing them from tears. Now, sir, the sound that tells what hour it is are clamorous groans which strike upon my heart, which is the bell. So sighs and tears and groans show minutes, times, and hours, and my time runs posting on in Bolingbroke's proud joy, while I stand fooling here as Jack of the clock. This music mads me. Let it sound no more. Though I have hoped madmen to their wits, in me it seems it will make wise men mad. Yet blessing on his heart that gives it me. For 'tis a sign of love, and love to Richard is a strange brooch in this all-hating world. That was a monologue from Richard II by William Shakespeare. Hi, my name is Victor Yang. I am a theater major at ASU with a concentration in acting. I am mostly known around the Valley with my work on ASU's main stage, various student films at ASU, and my work with Southwest Shakespeare. My latest performance, in-person performance, I guess, was Macbeth, fall 2019, a year ago now. Yeah. I was most recently, I guess, cast in the Crucible at ASU, but that had to be canceled due to the pandemic. And I am now working in rehearsals over Zoom for Hedda Gobbler, which is due to open in November, which will be, I guess, a web formatted streamed show. But we are creating some very magical, innovative, to use an ASU term, green screen work with that. And today I just wanted to share some of my experience as an actor working in this pandemic. Most of what you see today in terms of theater work is Zoom meetings like this, where actors will be in their little squares, bunched up, talking to the camera and presenting their work to you. And I wanted to use a speech from Shakespeare today because I think those two things have very similar necessities for the actor. It forces you to focus on the words, to focus on meaning, to focus on context, to focus on the bare necessities of acting. And I believe that to be the true definition of acting in my mind is two people sitting at a table, talking to each other, finding more about each other and finding more about themselves in the process. And during our unfortunate circumstances, we are forced to confront that head on as actors. There is no gimmicks here. As you can see, this is my house. I am on my MacBook Pro with a mic and a light, sure, but this is all you get. This is all you get. Your face, chest up, close-up shot, some foam walls if you're fancy. And This is all you get to work with. There are no props, no costumes, no lighting, no editing that's going to save you in the process. You just have to be vulnerable as an actor. And that is when an actor finds his best work, in my opinion. And during this climate, it's a very difficult thing for actors to adapt to this online process, especially for theater actors, because we're taught to project, we are taught to express intensely because we're on a stage and people in the back balcony row need to see us and they need to see what we're doing. But here, it's more of traditional film acting in a sense, because of course you get that medium close-up shot, and it makes it very difficult for theater actors because we lose that connection that we've always had with the audience members. And I guess that's part of the bigger theme of what the pandemic is doing for the whole of society, is that it is a pandemic that makes us disconnected. And of course, we have social media, we have Zoom calls like this to keep us connected, but physical touch, in-person meetings, visiting your friend at their home, that is all taken away from us. And I think as an actor, we have an opportunity to bring some of that back in a way. Now, of course, Zoom acting will not be the norm. At least I don't believe so. I think that there is going to be a new normal, but the new normal will consist of in-person theater because it has to. It's very difficult. Trust me when I say it's very difficult to get somebody to tune in on a Zoom call for about 2.5 hours just to watch you spew out Hamlet. It's yeah, the interest just isn't there, but it's still a way for us to still hone our craft and practice our words during this time where we can't really perform in person. And of course, I guess that's sort of the general theme of today's performance. Words. Words have so much meaning. Without meaning, words are just what, complicated airflow? And we don't care about airflow. So, and when it comes to Shakespeare, breath and language work so well together, and it works because it bears everything down to the bare essentials, essentially. Shakespeare has no giant paragraphs of stage direction. Shakespeare has no descriptions of how magnificent a set should look or how magnificent costumes should look. The most extravagant Shakespearean shows I've seen has been done with nothing. I guess the latest example is Richard II, which I saw at Southwest Shakespeare last year when they put that up. It was an all-female cast headed by Betsy McGavro as Richard II. Their main set piece was a wooden chair. And it wasn't that the chair was framed with gold or diamond that made the set so magnificent and so wildly entertaining. It was the meaning imbued with the chair and what the actors did with the prop. And making everything so simple, so easy to digest, focusing on the main important things, which is the text, which is the scene, which is what the actor can bring to the work. It was almost as if it was like a masterclass for how to improve your technique, how to improve your text work, because that is what we should be focusing on. We should be focusing on our words, our text, everything we bring into the world as ourselves. None of this superficialness, none of this Instagrammable none of these Instagrammable moments, but just genuineness. And that is what we are always trying to get as actors. We are trying to be genuine as another person, but genuine nonetheless. We are, I hear this phrase a lot. Actors are the best liars. I don't think that's really true. As Meisner would put it, to act is to do, and the most realistic acting is when you're actually actively doing something. And that is not lying. That is not you pretending to be somebody else. That is you living that moment from moment to moment. That is you becoming another person, imbuing them within your soul. An actor's main job is to create a living being that is not yourself, but still feels just as alive as when you're in the dressing room. It's a very difficult job. That's why almost a lot of us don't make it. But it's a necessary job nonetheless. I chose this monologue because it's a very a very curious time during Richard's life. It's the darkest point of his life. He's thrown into prison. His throne has been taken away from him, and he talks about what he missed out on. In the beginning, he talks about how he hears this music that is out of tune. And he says that he can hear it now. He can hear how sour, sweet music is when time is broke and no proportion kept. When that beat, the constant beat of your life is interrupted and it's thrown out of whack. And then the next line is very, very interesting because he says, but for the concord and state of my, well, I can't really remember the line anymore because after I perform anything, I forget it completely because I'm a professional. But he talks about how, but for the concord of his state and time, he had not an ear to hear his true time broke. When he was in the moment, in his most decisive moments, he couldn't hear that his music was out of tune. He only realized it afterwards. And we don't realize, as people, we don't realize what situation we're in, how good we have it, until it's taken away, of course. Hindsight's 2020. And this year, I think we've all realized in the industry how much we took human connection for granted. You know, call up your neighbor, have a barbecue. It seems like such an easy thing to do, such a casual thing. Like, hey, Bob, come over and I'll give you some ribs. But now, such a simple thing is made to be so complicated because there's a danger involved. And we're now starting to realize that, okay, in-person theater, maybe we thought it was outdated, but how outdated is human connection? We need that connection with people. We need our time with people before it gets all jumbled up and out of whack. For me, the preparation into online acting was sort of natural because I've been working as an actor for a while now. You know, I have an agent in the Valley, and I've done a lot of self tapes, so I have the light, the mic, the setup already. But I think for a lot of actors, especially theater students who are just breaking in, it's very difficult for them at this point. Because they don't necessarily have all the tools they need. They don't necessarily have all the information they need. And I think it's been a weird transition into learning acting online because there is something that you get in duo scene breakdowns that you don't get when you're reading lines into a screen. And I think theater learning is not necessarily well formatted for online learning. I don't think it's a perfect marriage, but it's what we have to work with at the moment. And I think all the actors will make the best out of it. Throughout all 4 years of my high school career, I worked with a lot of my friends on short films. I wanted to go to college to act, of course, but to act in film because, well, that was the most accessible form of acting that I've had. I think most people have in their lives, Netflix, Hulu, that kind of stuff. But I was talking with my friend at ASU, Brandon Gray, the other day, and I think he hit on a very, very poignant point that film acting these days has become, to quote him, Amazon acting. That is, we care about the product. We don't care how we get it done. And I think that's very important to know as an actor. It's that, well, for me in the theater space, why I grew to love theater is that I went to ASU, I came in, I did some shows, and I started realizing something that you can never get unless you're in the rehearsal room, is that when you're rehearsing for a theater show, it's built for you to grow as an artist. And for film, you have to show up and do your job. Of course, there's room to grow when you're working with amazing actors, amazing directors, but your first priority is the job and get the shot done. If you want to work it again, yeah, maybe we'll think about it, but if it's good enough for the director, you don't really get to do it again. And I think it's that space for growth that made me really fall in love with theater. It's my life is kind of a conundrum. I want to chase perfection as much as I can, but also knowing that perfection doesn't exist. And it's that constant pursuit that we're always on. And I think that's necessary for actors to be constantly chasing the best and never getting it because, well, I mean, the best is just a concept. And to be constantly growing is what it means to be part of a theater show. Every night is different. You made a mistake last night? Great. Fix it, grow, do it again tomorrow. And that has a very different meaning when an actor is going to school. It gives them a whole different mindset altogether. I remember I was doing 6 short films in one week, freshman year, because I like to work myself to death. It's fun. Um, and I remember that my mindset during that whole week was, okay, I need to get my lines down, check. Get my costumes down, check. Hair is okay, perfect. And let's show up for the shot and let's get the shot done. But I don't think that's not what you're supposed to focus on as an artist. That's why there's that misconception of actors starting out where they think, okay, I'm just going to practice in front of a mirror. I don't have a partner opposite me. So I'm just going to see how I do in the mirror and critique myself. That I don't think will fly because you're focused on the aesthetic. You're focused on what's on the outside, but mainly you should be focused on what's going on inside. The outside will happen naturally. You're a human, you have emotions, and they show on your face. But if it doesn't happen down here, then it never will. This is what you should be focused on, not the product that's on the surface. The product will not make you grow. but you can always get better if you focus on yourself. Here at ASU, my first year was a really enlightening one. I My first acting professor, I guess, was a man named David Barker. Uh, if you're an actor at ASU, you know his name, and he's, I guess, the best kind of teacher that I could look for in an acting professor because he doesn't sugarcoat anything, and he then almost never has anything positive to say, but that's okay. I like to save the positive, great job, great show, break a leg kind of stuff for my friends because I know they'll be there for me for that. For my professors, I prefer hard, stern criticism. And that's what he brings to the table. And that's what makes him a little kind of unpopular sometimes. But that is, I guess, my ideal training, um, which is what sort of led me to my decision to do grad school. I'm planning to audition to Juilliard in 2 months. And I see a lot of actors around the valley saying, okay, I've got my bachelor's, I'm going to go out and start working. And they can, and they always, almost always do a great job of it. I know a lot of people right now who graduated like a year ago that I knew that are working in just so many fantastic ways. But for me, again, I want to constantly improve myself and want to be the best version of myself before I throw myself out there in that pool of sharks that is the industry. And I think Juilliard will give me that best chance. I remember I came into ASU and my skills were all over the place. I had film acting chops in a sense, and the intuition as an actor on the text whenever I'm cold reading or whenever I'm approaching a text. I have that intuition as an actor, sure, but my technique was rough, and that charcoal really needed to get polished. Um, in Micah Espinosa's class, I learned how to be on voice, how to just really stay on voice because you hear my diction now. I can pronounce everything perfectly well. You can hear the T's, the K's, the G's, the consonants. But my freshman year, it's all sort of slurred, terrible. And education in theater really helps you just slowly build and build and build. You can ask Micah. I was a bumbling fool my first 2 years at ASU before her voice class, and now I can do Shakespeare. And that is what kind of led me into my internship with Southwest Shakespeare and how I built a rapport with them and how I started working with them during the pandemic on their Zoom plays and how I helped them connect other ASU students to their program as well. So they have more people from ASU working with them, and we're getting a much more mixed pool of actors now. And I don't think without the training at ASU, I don't think I would have gotten that. And that training has sort of given me the confidence and the backbone to say, okay, maybe Juilliard is possible. Maybe moving out to New York and hitting up the most prestigious people and saying, hey, can I open the door just a bit? Maybe that scenario is possible. And I think that is what the most important job a professor can do for their student in theater is to make them think that it's possible, because possibilities they come scarce in our line of work. But once you grab that one spark that you were looking for your entire career, then my best advice is don't let go of it. Follow it. If you found out that it's possible once, it's that possibility, that door will always be open for you. Just kick it down.